you live in. And after that, of course, we're going to use Menti for that, and we will request you that just have your phone ready. And of course, if you need to do anything to ensure that you'll be ready for the Menti, this is the time. And we'll also have a presentation basically talking about the youth consultations that have been done on health and road safety. And we have an interesting experience from one of the loveliest countries in the world, in India. And you don't want to know who is coming for this. At the same time, we will be talking about road safety and climate action. And of course, young person who has been doing an amazing job will be coming and telling us, is there a linkage, road safety and climate? Is there a linkage? Is there something we can do? You and I, our government, will be getting to know that. And of course, the last presentation will be talking about youth and rethinking mobility. I mean, is it what we know it today? Is there a better way of doing it? Is there a more sustainable way of doing it? And of course, just like always, we have brilliant guest speakers lined up for today. So after that, we'll have a brief session where we get to just interact. And please, as the presenters will be talking, they're very much prepared for your questions. So you better be prepared with your questions. Engage them, ask them questions, and you'll understand that this World Environment Day is about you and I. And lastly, we'll have closing remarks. And of course, it's youthful, it's a youth space, and we definitely have to have a group picture, which interestingly will remain on the internet forever. Do you want to be here forever? Make sure you don't miss our group picture session. All right. So just to, of course, talk to you about who our guest speakers for today are. You know me, I know you. My name is Alex Ayub. I'll be the moderator for today. I'm a member of the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety, and of course, with a great passion for young people, and of course, young people in development and claiming our space. You must have seen this photo somewhere. And of course, part of the great speakers that we have today is Yasmin Al-Mughrabi. Yasmin is actually a Global Youth Coalition member for road safety. And interesting to note is that Yasmin is one of the SDG 13 champions who have been selected by the Coalition for Road Safety. She's also a climate and road safety advocate. And guys, did you know this? That she is a PhD candidate in transportation engineering in Miami, Florida, in the United States of America. Currently, she holds 2 master's degrees, one in road safety management and the other one in highway transportation and traffic engineering. So please, just know that she's actually recognized as one of the remarkable feminist voices in transport 2023. I told you, these are people you definitely want to hear from. And of course, the second person that we have is Dr. Sayed Hube Ali. Dr. Sayed and Dr. Ali basically is an MBBS and MD community medicine from SETG Medical College and Chem Hospital, Mumbai. He also has, to his credit, postgraduate diploma in hospital and healthcare management from Symbiosis Institute of Management, PUNE, and diploma in human resource management, and all of this, of course, in Mumbai. He's also a health system strengthening. He's a health system strengthening program graduate from the University of Melbourne, Australia, and has done certificate courses in various areas, including WASH in healthcare from the Center for Global Safe Wash Emory University, Atlanta in Georgia. And by the way, Dr. Ali has been working with UNICEF since 2007. Where were you? What were you doing? Of course, and currently, Dr. Ali is a health specialist with UNICEF in the India country office. And lastly, but not least, we have, of course, you know her, you have heard from her. She engages us on a daily basis from the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety. And it's none other than Sana. And Sana's background is, she actually has a background in architecture, and she works as an advocacy and campaigns manager at the Youth for Road Safety organization, YOS. She's a fierce global advocate for road safety, climate action, and youth empowerment in sustainable development. So this, when I tell you that we have brilliant guest speakers with enormous knowledge and enormous interest in youth and climate and also sustainable mobility and health, then I did not lie. So please get a comfortable space. Make sure that you can join us to the end. Now, for now, I want you to take out your phone and join us on our Mentimeter. So if you already have your phone, please, you can actually go to Menti and be able to input this code 232998. Or you can actually just scan the barcode that you can see, and then it will automatically take you to our Mentimeter, just to get to catch up, get to know where you're joining us from, what's happening where you are, what's. So please, you will join in, and then let's see how it goes. And by the way, this is how you get your voices recorded. This is how you get your voices to count. So let me see how many people are already on our Menti. Okay, I see 4 people. Brilliant, I see that. So again, just to remind you that this is a discussion about youth at the intersection of safe mobility, environment, and health. And that intersection, where it meets, that is where we claim our space, that particular intersection. So we already have already. So let's see. Always said the world is a globe. Now today we look at it from a flat perspective. And I'm seeing a lot of people joining us. Wow, this is amazing, amazing. I'm seeing people joining us all the way from South America. I have people joining us from North America. Interesting. There is somebody at the heart of Africa. This is amazing. This is beautiful. All the way from Australia. I can see people joining us from Ethiopia. We can see people joining us from Asia. Oh my goodness. Truly, this is what we call the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety. It's global. And I can see there are a lot of many other people. Somebody actually said that they're joining us from the sea, literally, not on any continent. I love this. Let's see what happens. What's the relationship between climate and the sea? I actually have someone joining us as well from Kazakhstan in Central Asia. Let me see. Some of you have decided to type in the chat box. Ecuador in South America, Cape Town in South Africa. Woo, South Africa, love hearts, right? So if you can just also, if you're able to do it on the Menti, then we'll be able to really appreciate. So with this beautiful global presence, all the way from Cambodia and all these continents and Zimbabwe, what is the weather like today? Tell me, what is the weather like? Masi Kimani from Kenya, I see you. Kenya is here. So, and this is the beauty about our world today. So we are talking at the exact same time. Let's see what's happening in terms of the weather, right? Too hot, too sunny, too rainy, and windy. Same world, same planet. We love it. Clear skies. Pakaipa. What Pakaipa? I don't know what Pakaipa is. Somebody says the weather is beautiful today in their city. This is amazing. Oh no, it's smoky due to wildfires. That is so sad. I'm really sad about that. Yeah, effects of climate. I would want to know. And by the way, as you're really reflecting on what's happening and being conscious about the area around you, which of the following elements do you consider the most important sustainable in the environment? Which ones? Let's see. We have energy efficiency, we have safety, and we have active travel infrastructure. So which of them do you consider the most important for sustainable mobility and the environment? See, quite a lot of people are talking about safety. Is it because it's about safety? Let's see. I can see energy efficiency. I can see active travel infrastructure, which is also quite coming. Like safety is now moving towards the left side. And lastly, what are the key factors that make transportation systems environmentally friendly? Yes. So in your own words, in your own thoughts, what do you think are the factors, the elements, the tenets of a safe transportation system, an environmentally safe transportation system? In your own words, let's see what we have. Infrastructure, less gas emissions. I love this. I love this. Education, very important. Active travel. Okay, interesting. I want to understand the concept of active travel, behaviors. All right, policies are very important component of safe environmentally friendly transport systems. Wow, driving standards, technology, 15-minute cities, inclusivity. I like that. Inclusion, right? Low carbon emissions, definitely. Safer infrastructures, connected spaces. That's amazing. It's really beautiful. I'm really loving the quick points that we are coming up with here. And by the way, it's quite interesting that some of the things that you're already mentioning are some of the things that we are actually going to talk about. So you already in the right space if you're wondering whether this is the right space for you. Wow. Efficiency. Okay. And do you want to share your insights on how youth involvement can contribute to creating a sustainable and healthy transport system in your community? You know, this is the Global Youth Coalition, and we never talk about just the problems. We also look at the solutions and the role of young people in the solutions. And that's why we are asking you today to share your insights. How do you think youth, you and I, can be involved, can contribute to creating a sustainable and healthy transportation system in your community? Timothy, I see you, my brother, all the way from Rwanda. So let me see. I can see already we have 4 answers. Let's see. Have you made your contribution? I have someone joining me all the way from Swaziland. Is it Eswatini? And I have a friend joining me from Botswana. This is amazing. Africa is here, very well represented. Asia is here, very well represented. America, both North and South, all joining just to mark this World Environmental Day and finding the space for young people and claiming it. My brother from Nigeria is here. Please make sure that you also contribute to this conversation on Menti, how young people be involved and contribute to creating a sustainable and healthy transport systems in our community, right? In Kenya, in Africa, in Nigeria, in Asia, in Kazakhstan, in Europe. So what is our role? Let me see what we have, of course. Alrighty. And as always, just to remind you, this is the World Environmental Day celebrations, and we bring a community of young people and our brilliant guest speakers. So if you're just joining us, we have lined up brilliant guest speakers who will be talking to us about various thematic issues and also contributing and sharing their own experiences to this particular topic today. Already. So allow me to welcome to you none other than Dr. Ali, who is actually a health specialist from UNICEF working in the India country office. And Dr. Ali will be able to take us through health of youth, wealth over nation. So Dr. Ali, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alex. Let me share my screen if you could unshare yours. Please unshare your screen so that I can share mine.
Okay, just in a second.
Alex, can you allow me to share the screen? It says the host has disabled participant screen sharing.
Yes, I just granted you the access, Dr. Ali. Confirm me, please, if you can go ahead.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, colleagues, for this opportunity. It's a very important platform, and we are having like youth and adolescents, as Alex mentioned, from various parts of the globe. So if we talk about India, if you can see the pyramid, India is a very young country. 65% of our population is below 35 years of age. And in terms of absolute numbers, we are like 253 million adolescents, which is more than the population of Mexico or even more than the population of Brazil. Now the adolescent issues are different in the younger adolescents in the country and the older adolescents. With younger adolescents, more of the issues of non-communicable diseases, whereas older adolescents, there are issues of mental health and road traffic injuries in the country. Based on the study on Lancet in 2017, every dollar spent on child and adolescent will bring about 10% of its returns. Now we have various problems of the adolescents, but I will be dwelling on the road traffic crashes. India contributes to 1% of the total vehicles around the globe, but 11% of the road traffic deaths and 6% of the road traffic injuries. Every day, around 42 children, including 31 adolescents, die due to road crashes in India. In 2019 alone, as per the recent data, almost 50,000 road traffic deaths were there, and 8% of them were in the children and the adolescents less than 18 years of age. This is a report released by the Ministry of Home Affairs, India, recently in the last quarter of 2022. And you can see the major cause of death in adolescents and youth in India is the motor traffic accidents. Major issues are around poor infrastructure, lack of awareness about the road traffic rules, lack of awareness about the road traffic uh, the various signals and the rules and road safety measures, reckless driving, and overspeeding, which is coming as a major cause, particularly for the adolescents and the youth in the country. Now, based on the various findings which we have found and got, Government of India is very much concerned about the health of the adolescents in the country and also across the globe. In January 2023, this year, Government of India, Department of Education and Department of Health has released a brochure on promoting safe journeys to school, along with the other documents on mental health, menstrual hygiene, and other issues of the adolescent health. So the country, the government, the ministry, they themselves have the priority on the road traffic accidents. Now, based on this, Government of India, the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, is organizing a G20 co-branded event along with the partnership with maternal, newborn, and child health. The major event is addressing the youth and adolescents, which forms 1.8 billion of the cohort today, and various issues. We all know that there are road safety concerns, there are issues around reproductive and sexual health, gender-based violence, and so on. So prior to this event, which is on the 20th of June, Ministry of Health, along with the support of UNICEF, WHO, UNFPA, and Gates Foundation, we did regional consultations at 4 sites in the country, in which 200 youth and adolescents from as low age as 12 years up to 24 years participated in these events. And the major objective of these regional consultations is to discuss and deliberate on the needs of adolescents and youth in India and identify the ways in which their health and well-being can be improved. The major objective was to address the identified barriers, facilitate dialogue between the adolescents and youth, and highlight their visibility. We wanted to understand what actually the youth and the adolescents feel about the various thematic issues and identify the youth enthusiasts and advocates. And I'm happy to share that out of the total participants, which are like 250, we are calling 125 youth adolescents. And from these regional consultations, we have identified 50 champions on the various thematic areas, which includes road safety, sexual and reproductive health, mental health, and nutrition. Along with this, we also did a virtual consultation on 15th of May, which was joined by the youth from 11 G20 countries, and total 209 participants participated in this with their active voices, which were heard by the Ministry of Health at the highest level. There were in-depth discussions and consultations on the various issues, but particularly focusing on the gender-based violence, injuries, mental health, and reproductive and sexual health. We did a Mentimeter round in all these regional consultations on the 12th questionnaire. I wanted to take your attention to the 3 red bars, which you can see. The major cause of the road fatalities for the youth in India is overspeeding, but the awareness you can see is the least among the youth and the adolescents. Now, the the speed of the vehicle around the schools and institutions has to be 25 to 30 kilometers per hour in India, but the awareness is very low. And the core benefits of making the road safe, particularly in the context of climate change and environmental safety and infrastructure, the knowledge of our youth and adolescents are very little. Along the side, we also did the digital campaign on road safety, which is still going on, and you can see that more than 100,000 youth and adolescents have already retweeted and viewed the site. The good part is that we are now developing these digital campaign material into the local languages of India, and this will continue for another 6 months with the basic objective to raise awareness about the road safety in the country. This is directly from the adolescents and the youth. What challenges are faced by the youth and adolescents, particularly when they are on road? So they feel that there is a high prevalence of road injuries and fatalities. There is a lot of lack of awareness about road safety measures and the traffic rules. There is insufficient access to healthcare, particularly on the national highways and the state highways. There is limited reinforcement. Although the laws are there, but the enforcement of the laws is very poor. And the adolescents and children also understand the inadequate infrastructure, which is contributing to the road traffic accidents. Weak regulations, negligence of the parents, where they give the bikes and the cars in the hands of the children and adolescents without having proper license and without having the knowledge on how to drive them and without having the knowledge about the road safety measures. We also found out that there is lots of influence of the social media. Many of the adolescents and children taking part in the road race have lost their lives, and this is directly from the mouth of the youth and the adolescents who participated in the regional consultations. From these consultations, we got the key recommendations which have been submitted to the Secretary, Government of India. The major issue which came out is the awareness campaign, the need of the awareness campaigns, the need of comprehensive road safety education programs formally in the schools and also in the communities, maintenance of safe road infrastructure. There are also recommendations for having the hospitals, trauma centers, and rehabilitation services very close to the national highways. There needs to be enforcement of the laws, strengthen the enforcement of the laws. Issue of the driving license should be strict reinforcement. And finally, we need to have a robust data and surveillance system on the road safety and injuries so that we have some evidence, and based on the evidence, we take the decisions. There are various platforms in India where we are engaging the youth and the adolescents, particularly with focus on the road safety. A few of them I wanted to highlight here. We have a robust program for the youth and adolescent health where Government of India has identified the peer educators. Now we are providing training to these peer educators on the road safety measures. And these peer educators in the community, they are like influencers and they are disseminating this information further to the youth and adolescents. Government of India has a robust national program on school health and wellness program. We have been able to have a dedicated chapter in this school health and wellness program. Since last 6 months or so, almost 6 million students in India have been oriented on these road safety measures. We are supporting the Government of India for setting up of the adolescent-friendly health clinics, particularly near to the national highways. More than 7,000 such adolescent-friendly health clinics have already been operationalized. We have supported the training of the counselors on the road safety measures. And finally, the hospitals, the PHCs, and the lowest health center in India is the health and wellness center, which is like the last part in the villages. There, the trainings are being provided to the medical officers to provide care and attention to the victims of the road safety. So finally, the aim is to make our environment better for children to promote safe journeys to school. This is all from my side. Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Over to you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ali. And I mean, I was just trying to follow into what the work that you guys have been able to do in India. And basically, it's actually interesting that India is also confirming that road safety, road traffic crash is actually the leading cause of injuries among young people. That is just remarkable. Aren't you guys thinking about that? Don't you think there is need for us to act? And so we are going to request Dr. Ali, who is going to stay with us all the way to the end of the call. So if there's something that probably you didn't grasp, if something you needed clarification about, please be sure to just either drop it in the chat box, and Dr. Ali will be able to respond towards the end of the session, or you can actually just keep it to the end of the session, and we'll be able to have Dr. Ali respond. So yes, and this is the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety World Environmental Day. And our next speaker is Yasmin Al-Mughrabi. And Yasmin, is also a member of the Global Youth Coalition, and she's going to try and just delve into the whole discussion on road safety, of course, towards a climate-proof future. She'll be looking at what is this SDG 13 and what is our position as the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety? How is road safety linked with climate action? Are there any recommendations? And are there examples of some youth-led initiatives? So please welcome Yasmin. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, and hi, everyone. So whenever I attend the climate action events, people are often surprised to learn that I am a road safety advocate. They frequently ask me how road safety is related to climate change. So in this presentation, we will explore the connection between these two critical issues. So when we think about climate change, we typically think of greenhouse gas emissions. And as we all know that the transportation sector is a significant contributor to these emissions, which have a profound impact on both our planet and our communities. And that's what the following statistics prove. So the first one is that the exposure to greenhouse gases like CO2 emitted by different modes of transport during childhood years often lead to irreversible organ damage and respiratory issues among young people, which worsen with age. Ground level ozone pollution caused by vehicles also lead to tendency of depressions. The second statistic is that despite the goal of the Paris Agreement to reduce the global greenhouse gas emissions to limit the global temperature increase, we can see that unfortunately the global mean temperature has already risen by 1.1 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial level by 2021. The third one is the statistic related to climate finance. So $1.6 trillion to $3.8 trillion of climate finance is required each year from developed countries for the world to transition to a low carbon future. So if this amount of money is required from developed countries, what about the low and the middle income countries if we think about this? The last statistic is that the low and middle income countries own only 60% of the world's vehicle, but account for 93% of the global road traffic fatalities. It's not just contribute to kill people, but also to affect the environment. So this may be due to a lack of maintenance or substandard environment requirement. Next, please. So the question now is that how's transportation and road safety connected with the climate change issues? And here I would like to highlight the policy brief, SDG 13 on climate action and road safety available on the website of the coalition. And this policy brief aims to demonstrate the correlation between these two critical issues and how young people worldwide are taking action to address them for a safe and healthy future. And actually, one of the topics discussed in this policy brief is the safe system approach. So I would like to mention a little about it. So as we all know that the safe system approach principles are rooted in the idea that a human error is inevitable, but road crashes and injuries are not. So a safe system is also a sustainable one. Promotion and increased use of public and active modes of transport will directly help mitigate climate change and improve air quality through the reduced CO2 emissions. Next, please. So it's impossible to have and friendly environment cities without road safety, and it's impossible to have road safety without sustainable and friendly environment cities. And as we can see that road safety is a central piece to the climate agenda and sustainable development goals. So safe, sustainable, inclusive, and low carbon transport options are closely linked to the Sustainable Development Goals 7, 11, and 13. Road traffic fatality and the devastating environment consequence of climate change pose alarming threat to the health and safety of youth worldwide. The lack of investment and political will for road safety is a direct threat to the accomplishment of the climate change agenda. Next, please. And for this reason, reducing the global and regional greenhouse gases emission to a net zero is one of the most difficult yet much required targets set by the international community. The transport sector is the second largest contributor to climate change. due to its heavy dependence on fossil fuels. So its sectoral emission has more than doubled since 1970. Hence, the success of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Goal Climate Action Agenda is not possible without active, safe, and sustainable transport. Next, please. And here the question, what we should do: government, WHO, UN, and civil society organization, youth-led organization, you and I, what we should do. So I will start by the government. First, review, update, and specify national and local technical safety standard and the star rating target for transport infrastructure and design. Second, plan for and invest in multimodal, energy efficient, integrated smart transit system. Third, promote street design with dedicated and safe cycling and walking pathway. Concerning the WHO, UN, and civil society organization, here are some recommendations. So first, support government in addressing the transport sector impact on health, environment, and climate change to foster a shift toward least carbon-intensive travel options for all. Second, facilitate decarbonization of the transport sector by increasing the use of sustainable biofuel and renewable energy sources. Concerning youth and youth-led organizations, so first, advocate for youth involvement in sustainable transport policy development and implementation, as young people are identified as key stakeholders in the delivery of the new global plan for the decade of action for road safety. Second, act as role models for the community by observing road safety best practice and opting for active and sustainable mode of transport. And since I'm talking about youth and youth-led organization, I would like to highlight two interesting and amazing events I'm participating in. Please, next. So the first one is the local conference of youth, Alcoy, USA. This event provides opportunity for US young activists to network, build capacity, and discuss the climate reality of US. So this event culminates in the drafting of the National Youth Statement on Climate, which feeds into the Global Youth Statement on Climate. Last year, I was a delegate, and this year I am one of the organizers. And I want to mention also one thing that last year, the US National Youth Statement on Climate from the Alcoy was presented to the White House Council on Environmental Equality and representative from a State Department to see the need, the action that young people want to do. The second event is the Camp 2030. So Camp 2030 bring the top young leaders from around the world, different backgrounds, different culture. Last year, I was a participant, and my team and I went the climate action track. And this year, I will be considered to help and support young people in Camp 2030. And that is everything. Thank you so much. And if you have any question, let's see in the Q&A.
Wow. Wow. This is so inspiring. I mean, can you guys imagine this is actually a young person who's done this amazing job and already talking to us about the connection between road safety and climate? Did you think that is the case? And look at the plans that are coming and ongoing. So thank you so much, Yasmin. And of course, please stay with us as we keep the questions and comments coming in relation to your presentation. And just if you're joining us now, this is the Global Youth Coalition, and we're marking the World Environment Day, and we're trying to look at the intersection between, of course, sustainable mobility. We're talking about health, we're talking about climate, we're talking about all the matters that matter to young people, to you and I. And before we proceed, are you a member of the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety? If you're not, please, you will find the website link just on the chat box right now, and you'll be able to join in and forward it to anyone who you think should be a member of this global coalition. And as we proceed, we have Sana Kasawe. Sana is actually coming in to talk to us about sustainable mobility for youth. And she's looking at between personal choices and political will. What exists? What is sustainable mobility? And yes, we have SDG 11. Do you know what it is? And we have actually done some amazing work. And there's a policy brief on SDG 11 from the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety. She's going to be giving us highlights around that. And of course, what are the challenges that are faced by young people, by youth globally? And lastly, are there any recommendations? So I want you to join me in welcoming Sana. Please, stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Alex. And thank you to the previous speakers for the insightful presentations. I would like to start my presentation by a reminder that road crashes remain the #1 killer of youth worldwide. And every 24 seconds, we are losing one person because of a road crash. And that adds up to 3,700 people killed every single day. More than half of all road traffic fatalities are among vulnerable road users, who are the cyclists, motorcyclists, and pedestrians. And 93% of fatalities worldwide are happening in low and middle income countries, who only account for 60% of vehicles registered worldwide. So now I can start telling you about sustainable mobility with these statistics in mind. And I think as we celebrate the World Environment Day, it's the perfect time to rethink mobility and its impact on our planet. And for this reason, it's important that we reflect on the UN Road Safety Week key messages. Rethinking mobility means taking a fresh look at how we move around and finding ways to make it better for both us and the environment. By promoting sustainable transportation options like walking, cycling, and using public transportation, we can reduce carbon emissions, we can improve air quality, and protect the earth. As road safety advocates, why is it important? Why is it essential for us to mark this day? Because road safety is not only about keeping ourselves safe, but also about preserving the environment. So we need to spread awareness, we need to inspire others to choose greener modes and active modes of transportation, so we can work in collaboration towards a future where sustainable mobility and road safety go hand in hand. So I hope that through this presentation, we can learn how we can make a positive impact and create a world where people and the planet thrive in harmony. So happy World Environment Day. Next slide, thank you. Now I'd like to start my presentation by thinking out loud with you guys. What is sustainable mobility? Why is it important for youth to be mindful about sustainable mobility? How can we transform our cities with sustainable mobility in mind? Well, basically, when we talk about active modes of travel, eco-friendly modes of transportation, or sustainable mobility, we are talking about moving around in a way that keeps our planet healthy and supports our future. It's all about finding ways to get from one place to another without harming the environment. So think of it as choosing transportation options that are kind to our planet Earth. And this includes walking, using public transportation, and cycling. And I'm sure we have a lot of cycling enthusiasts with us today. I think we need to also keep in mind sharing rides with others and using technology that can help us connect with each other to share rides and go to destinations at one direction together. So by making sustainable mobility choices, we reduce pollution, we save energy, and we protect the world where we live in. Do you know that half of the world's population now live in cities? So it's very important that we think, how are our cities designed? Are we having road safety in mind? Because it's not only, when we talk about designing cities and city expansion, it's not only important for economic growth and for development. It's very crucial for young people like us. Because cities need to prioritize road safety. It needs to prioritize what is sustainable and friendly for young people, because it is a powerful tool to tackle inequalities in education, in accessing healthcare, in accessing the job opportunities. So if we want to create an environment where we can thrive without the risk of losing our lives on the road, we need to put road safety at the priority of designing our cities. The success or failure about creating cities that transform lives depends on a few key factors. First, we need to talk about political will. and commitment of governments and investments. We need world leaders that prioritize road safety and that are dedicated to make our cities safer for everyone, especially youth, because they are the most impacted age group by road crashes. Also, we need to think about the mobility patterns and choices we make every single day. And making choices like, for example, walking, cycling instead of like driving our car, it can definitely make our cities safer. And also it can give us a better connection with our surrounding, and it can make the experience of like getting around and navigating around the city more enjoyable indeed. Now let's talk about young people. Let's talk about us, you and me. The scale and depth of meaningful youth participation in reimagining cities of tomorrow is definitely crucial. We need the ideas of youth, we need the energy of youth and their involvement to shape the future of our cities. So our voice definitely matters, and we need to work in collaboration with all other stakeholders. Because we need to push and mainstream road safety in city design and create transformative vision for our cities that empower young people like you and me. Next slide, please. Now, between personal choices and political will. No, the previous slide, please. So sustainable mobility between a personal choice and political will. So let's say as young people, we are aware that the choices we make when we travel have a huge impact on our well-being and also on the planet. But it's also about keeping in mind how we can promote using these modes of travel for our peers and for other people. Because it doesn't only like reduce pollution, but it can definitely keep us active and keep us healthy. Let me know in the chat, what do you do when you feel stressed? I personally go out and take a walk. It helps me clear my mind. It helps me feel less stressed. It helps me like connect better with my surrounding, with other people. So sustainable mobility can positively impact our mental health and our mental well-being. So when we make choices that are kind to the environment, we are also benefiting our own well-being and our mental health, because it reduces the stress levels and it increases the feelings of happiness and well-being. So we need to have reliable access to public transportation and to active modes of travel to give us a sense of independence and freedom, and to allow us to explore new places and to connect with our communities. Next slide, please. Now we are talking about sustainable mobility choices and how it impacts our surrounding, our planet. So let's break it down. Basically, it will help us definitely in saving lives. As we saw in the beginning of the presentation, we saw that vulnerable road users are the most impacted by road traffic crashes. So when we promote eco-friendly modes of transportation like walking and cycling, and we accommodate the needs of this category of road users, we are improving also the air we breathe. We are improving the public health, and cleaner air means fewer respiratory problems and a healthier community overall. So sustainable mobility is also about improving the overall well-being of communities, and it can contribute to saving money as well, because when we use ride sharing or carpooling or public transportation, we are cutting down on fuel costs, and we are making transportation more affordable definitely for everyone. So we need to go green if we want to breathe clean air and we want to keep our roads safer for everyone. But I understand that we have many barriers for young people when we talk about sustainable mobility. Next slide, please. And these barriers, like they pose a great challenge for young people, but don't worry, we can overcome all these challenges together. One of the challenges is the limited access to alternatives to modes of transportation. For example, where I live in, we don't have enough bike lanes, we don't have sidewalks, or we don't have like a good public transportation with good connectivity to different parts of the city. But so this means that young people like me who are going through the same situation, we need to keep pushing and advocating for better infrastructure. Another challenge can be the lack of infrastructure for sustainable mobility. Because, for example, we don't have like bike-friendly paths. We don't have safe crossing zones for pedestrians. We don't have, for example, public transportation that is friendly for the environment, like, for example, that rely on friendly energy, electricity, and so on. But definitely, if we collaborate with governments, we can definitely advocate to change that. The other challenge is about our behaviors, our resistance to change. And sometimes it can be hard to break like our old habits. If we are used, for example, to driving, how can we embrace a new way of getting around? So we need to have a positive mindset and set a good example for ourselves, and also inspire others around us to join us in choosing active modes of transportation. So in a nutshell, we need to recognize the barriers that we are facing, and we need to advocate for better access and demand improved infrastructure, and encourage everyone around us to go sustainable. I need to be mindful about time, right, Alex?
Yes, you're doing well, though.
Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. So basically, as young people, we can work with governments, but we also need to be aware about what governments should do. Basically, when we talk about political will and its role in making our cities safer and more sustainable, it's super important for our leaders, for the decision makers in our communities to prioritize road safety, because it's at the heart, at the center of creating cities and communities that work for everyone, that are accessible, that are sustainable. And we need to be assured that we are included in this process. So youth voices need to be heard when designing and evaluating how urban sustainability programs are working, how our cities are shaped, and the ideas will definitely make a difference. One interesting idea is that we need to push for adopting the safe system approach. And by that, I mean that our national road safety agenda, or the national agency that is responsible for road safety, they need to use evidence-based actions and evidence-based recommendations to set the local policy that tackles road safety and sustainable mobility. The second step would definitely be to invest in order to implement these actions. And as young people, what we can start with is to push for political will, to push for meaningful youth engagement. And if we have experience in transportation, we need to provide recommendations and evidence-based road safety actions and learn from the leading countries who achieved really good results in reshaping their cities. And we can send these recommendations to our decision makers to make sure that we are heard and we are included. Next slide, please. And now I would like to conclude my presentation by providing some recommendations for young people and for youth-led organizations. We need to advocate and push to integrate road safety into the national climate change and environmental agendas. And we heard from Dr. Ali and Yasmin on why is that very important. We need to act as agents of change as young people in the shift towards active mobility and public transportation. And I think that intergenerational dialogue is definitely important. We need to hold governments accountable to realize cities that are sustainable. And we need to work with our peers on awareness campaigns, on capacity building campaigns, on road safety. And we need to share this knowledge on why road safety is crucial to sustainable development. And you can start by going to claimingourspace.org and download our policy brief on SDG 11, where you can learn more about sustainable mobility, active travel, and what youth can do to tackle these challenges. Thank you so much.
Wow. Again, thank you so much, Sana. And I think just looking at the last slide that you were talking about, where you're even giving us recommendations on what ideally we could be able to do. And you talk about youth-led movements for sustainable mobility. And even us organizing campaigns for greener transportation. And I like the last part about it, that we recognize that we cannot be able to do this alone, and that we need to collaborate with policymakers and other organizations and all the other adult allies who can be able to help champion our cause. And this is really, really impressive. So thank you so much, Sana. And of course, as for the all guests, I will just request you to just now be with us now. I think the time for questions and answers are here. And just to remind you, we had Dr. Ali who came in first, just talk about the status of adolescent health in India and making some reflections on the G20 regional consultations on road safety in India. And he was also talking about the key challenges that came out of it. For example, issues around young people, why they are susceptible to moral traffic injuries, awareness, infrastructure. And that was a really interesting session that we were to get that. And then we also had Yasmin, who came and just gave us the linkage between road safety and the climate change, and giving us a highlights on the SDG 13, the policy brief, but also giving us a bit of recommendations what we can do to address the challenges that are coming in relation to climate change, but basically coming in from road transportation and road safety as well. And then, of course, give us a good example on youth-led initiatives. And lastly, of course, we just had Sana, who has been able to also give us a really good insights and highlights into the work that has been going on around sustainable mobility for young people, and also gave us some really good recommendations that we could take for our own use as a young person, for the youth groups that we represent, for the organizations that we work with, but also for the other stakeholders who we collaborate with. So I think we already have some questions that are in the chat box. We could go through them. And of course, for our guest speakers, feel free at any point just to to unmute after I've gone through all the questions, and then you will tell us which ones do you want to respond to, especially if they're not specifically directed to either of our speakers. And I think there was a question when somebody was saying, I think Prenita was saying, what do you think about the barriers in the implementations of policies related to road safety? So policy barriers in road safety. So that's a very good question as well. There are also some comments. I think there's a comment about problem is in some places like in the African continent, those active travel modes are not secure. Gangsters can easily attack you to snatch your belongings when walking or cycling or on public transport, compared to when you are using a car. Wow, Sydney, that's amazing. I mean, just being able to highlight what happens and some of the barriers that exist. I think Toshida also talked about car culture is also big here. Walking is sometimes seen as backwards, obsolete. It's in the past. And for some, it's for the poor in quotes as well. And this also looks like some of the barriers that exist. And then access to learning zones and expensive infrastructure hampers the need for youth to participate in different programs. And then, Michelle, you said you have a concern about these new means of transport, scooters, bikes. Are they good? You mean, are they safe? Should we promote their use? So yes, I mean, this is something that is upcoming, the scooters. And some countries don't even have legislation yet around these scooters. Are they motorized transport systems? Are they non-motorized, and all this? So yes, that's a really good question. Joshina, you also mentioned the biggest issue in South Africa to active mobility is the safety aspect, especially for women. Yes, there are a lot of gender issues around transportation and transportation systems. And there's quite a lot of work that even the Global Youth Coalition has on their website around gender as well. Yes, so I think maybe we could already pause there and see if there are any quick comments that are coming in from the quick reflections from our guest speakers in relation to the questions that I've raised or the comments. Yes, so I don't know if Dr. Ali, Yasmin, or Sana, if you have any quick reflections on the questions, and then we can take another round of comments and questions as well.
Yeah, I can come in.
Yes.
So one of the questions in the chat was how road safety is linked to the global health agenda. So the goal 3.6 of the Sustainable Development Goals 2030, it mentions to reduce by 50% the global deaths and injuries due to road safety. So road safety is very much a global health agenda. And there is a coalition of the 50 different organizations called Sustainable Mobility for All, who are working and supporting the governments across the country for making the roads safer and reducing the number of injuries and deaths on the roads, particularly focusing on the adolescents, youth, with a larger focus to make the safer environment. Another point I would like to stress, the policy barriers. It's a very important question about the policy barriers. If we talk about India, actually, there are 4 different departments who actually are responsible or accountable for this. One is the Ministry of Road Traffic, Highways, who release the policies about the safety of the roads and infrastructures. There is the Department of the Traffic Police, who is responsible to ensure that the policies and rules are strictly enforced on the road. There is the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health, who should ensure the awareness, right type of the messages go to the right type of the citizens. Now the issue is these departments should work together. We need to move from the intuitive approach of punishing or reinforcing the different approaches.
Dr. Ali, I think you're on mute.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back now.
Yeah, so these different departments should talk to each other, keeping the citizen in the center to make the roads safer, taking in consideration the environment and the situation in the atmosphere safer, rather than focusing on the more stricter laws or the punishment issues. So these are 2 points from my side.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ali. Very, very insightful, of course, feedback and comments. And I hope for the questions that were raised in that relation, you've been able to get some insights as well. I don't know if there's any other quick reflections, but I can see there are quite a lot of good conversations going on. Sana, you want to come in?
Yes, thank you, Alex. I saw Gabriela in the chat. She's saying, speaking from an urban center in Brazil, I believe the main challenge is the infrastructure of public transportation. Their use is extremely common due to inequality and the extremely expensive private transport. So a challenge is, how can we make public transportation more efficient? Because nowadays it costs the mental health and time from those who use it. Something of 30-minute distance would take 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, a time which can take the well-being from domestic workers, for example. Thank you so much, Gabriela, for sharing this reflection. I think what we can do is push governments to do a change of mindset. What we are facing right now is the resistance to change for many governments because of certain obstacles that they go through. For example, we have a problem with financial constraints, for example, because building and maintaining public transportation infrastructures requires a lot of financial resources, and governments often face budget constraints when it comes to that. The other thing is basically about political priorities. Because, maybe in Brazil, you have many simultaneously happening challenges. So what is the priority? Is it road safety? Is it public transportation when compared to other priorities? So sometimes governments do not put infrastructure and transportation ahead of other priorities, although they are very linked. And if they invest in public transportation, it will definitely reflect on all the other sectors. And it will definitely support the economic growth of the country. So another challenge can be also bringing all the involved stakeholders together, because when we talk about, for example, improving the infrastructure, we are talking about like a big and a long bureaucratic process that will face some time of some kind of delays or challenges. So basically, it's about the government doing or creating an efficient mechanism for all the involved and all the relevant stakeholders to collaborate in an efficient way. So it's going to be a long process. We need to be patient, but at the same time, we need to push our governments to prioritize road safety and sustainable mobility, and to hold them accountable for all the goals and targets they set in the national policy of transportation.
Thank you so much, Sana. Thank you so much for that, Sana. Yasmin, you want to also have some quick reflections on that?
Yes. So actually, there's comment that attracted me. That's for Toshina. She said that car culture is also big here. Walking is sometimes seen as backward and for the poor. So actually in my country, I was feeling this. I feel shy to walk because people, if I want to walk, see me like as backward or just walking just for poor. And when I traveled here to US, I surprised that the students go to the university by walking, by using bike. So I started really to walk and enjoying walking. And actually, I think that as us as a young road safety advocate, we really need to promote for walking, and we start this step. We started from us to start walking and start to like change this cultural and behavioral factor that affect the improving of road safety, because we all know that this active transportation mode like walking, biking, or other really not just improve road safety but have a great impact on climate change, so on about our environment, about our present, our future. Other thing is question that what would your advice be to grassroots youth organization wanting to open dialogue with leaders? So for me, the most important thing is to clearly articulate the goal and objective of this NGO, understand the specific issues in these cities that you want to discuss it with the leaders, and get information about these leaders before any meeting. For example, one of the time I had a meeting with a congressman representative, and I was the only young person concerning bike. So before the meeting, I did a great research about this person, his project, everything he's doing. And during the meeting, I mentioned it about something he did, and he really surprised that I have the great knowledge, and I am not just in the meeting like just to be in the meeting or anything. So as young people, we need to be prepared, because we really have the ideas and we have great opinions that can affect the policies that shape at the end our future.
Thank you so much, Yasmin, and also just being able to express your own personal experiences as well. And it's so interesting how young people can actually influence each other by actually be observing how a particular group behaves, like students in this case, and you also join them, and which is also, so it means we can also be agents of behavior change and good culture in the world, which is super amazing. I don't know, they're also quite really good, interesting comments still in the chat box. Some of them are asking questions, some are actually responding to each other, which is amazing. I don't know if there's any quick reflections as well that any of the speakers wants to also address. I could see a comment as well. I think Dr. Ali, you also mentioned that road safety contributes to safe environment, climate change contributes to improvement in physical and mental health, economic gains. Well, road safety has a lot of contributions as well. And Farai, the youths are the leaders of tomorrow and the custodians of the road safety policies. So they must be caught whilst young and be given the best education they require. Farai, that's so true. And we always say that the policies made today will affect young people of today longer than any other generation. So it's important that we are the center of those discussions. So any other quick comments that, feel free for the speaker, just unmute and probably if you want to address any question. And before that, I can see Nicholas, you have a comment you want to unmute and say, please.
Yes, sure. Thank you for all, and thank you for youth and the youth organization or participations of this part of environment actions. My first question on the share of youth organizations that are important, integrated, accelerated in safety and security to possibility to developing in autonomous driving. It's very important. But my suggestion in France, it's level not clear for me to integrate it to digital platform. This digital platform, yes, green digital to actions in reduce impact on road safety, but in developing countries, it's not possibility to installations of this action. And my last questions: have you got the possibility in a clear actions of reading impact of babies in the babies and children and this action in for Indiana? And what's your possibility to indicate it of KPI this action to reduce of digital green digital of this road setting? Thank you.
Yes, so thank you so much, Nicola. I think I was struggling a bit with the with the internet on my end, just getting you clearly. But I think you actually talked about a bit around the space of digital spaces and how we're able to tap into that, into this conversation. So I don't know if there's any of our particular guests who could just, I think you asked a couple of questions. Any of our guests who could pick that? Yeah, because I think, all right. So I think the internet issue was also on my end. I think Yasmin is also requesting if you could repeat, or do you mind just putting it on the chat so that we can be able to just read through it and we ensure that we give you an appropriate response, please, if you don't mind, Nicholas. Thank you. Okay, and then we're also getting very good insights as well. I think we have Miriam who says the issue continues to be the decision makers either take too long to implement or don't even implement at all, and it's affecting the change we are trying to achieve in our society. So much has to really be done, especially in Africa. Yeah, I think you're talking about in relation to policies and road safety policies that needs to be implemented on this. And there's actually an interesting question, and I'll take this for Sana. Well, I think it should be, will there be any further opportunities of program or funding for road safety this year? I know this probably Gabriela has been able to see the amazing work that we're doing with the local actions. Sana, do you want to respond to that?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for showing interest, Gabriella, in implementing a youth-led intervention. Actually, at the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety, at the end of every year, we launch a call to application for all young people who are interested in leading change and responding to the most pressing challenges in their communities. So I invite you to keep an eye on your email. Once this call to application is open, you can submit your application and you will compete with hundreds of other young people who want to generate impact. And I hope you get selected and we manage to work closely with you in addressing your concerns about public transportation in Brazil. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sana. And I think also in the chat, we have really good, important links that all of you have been generous enough to share with us. So please have a look at that. If you feel this is something that you really want to have a look at of interest for you for partnerships and collaborations, please feel free to do that. And then lastly, is it possible to declare road safety as a pandemic and get the support like the COVID-19 got? We have really good health experts here. Doctor, in Swahili, we call doctors daktari. So Daktari Ali, do you mind telling us what does it take to declare a disease, something, a pandemic, so that we can get that support? Is it possible?
Quoting it as a pandemic will be really difficult, but our role, I think, should be to have a strong advocacy with the governments across the globe, so that the decision makers and policy makers understand the importance of making the roads safe. We really need to move from the intuitive approach to a more human-centric approach and a holistic approach to make the roads and the environment safe, rather than focusing on the laws or strict enforcement. That is one part of it, but I think more advocacy is needed on this area.
Can I add something, Alex?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Sanel, for sharing this. Actually, road crashes have killed way more people than COVID did in 1 year. So I think it's very important for us to recognize that it's definitely a global health concern. It's one of the non-communicable diseases, if you want to use medical terms. And we definitely need to see road safety as a central challenge at the global health agenda and also at the sustainable development agenda. This is the only way where we can put road safety as a priority and work collaboratively to respond to the #1 killer of young people. Do we need to declare it as COVID-19? It's definitely as relevant, it's definitely as important. It's killing a lot of people and impacting their everyday life. So do we need to do that? Or do we need to create a shift in the way we are designing our cities? I think if we start with our own cities and communities and work at local and national levels, that would be much easier, than declaring another pandemic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that as well. I think, Nicholas, you repeated your question. I would like to know if the impact of digital green can be an asset to better regulate traffic and have no impact on the function of roads energy consumption in terawatts. Yes, so per hour, that is. So I don't know if anyone wants to pick that, but as probably if any of the colleagues, the guest speakers want to pick that, they could actually just respond as well. So that I also ensure that I welcome Stephanie. Stephanie is going to give us a bit of a closing remarks. But before she comes in, please, if there's any of the comments that you think you want to be able to respond to, I think we're still there. The chat is still active. Please just make sure that you respond to that comment as well. So Stephanie, please welcome.
Thank you so much, Alex, and thank you all for being with us today. I'm Stefania Miniti, and I'm working at yours along with Sana. So, as you say today, our aim and objective for this webinar wants to learn more about the linkage between the global health agenda and also the climate agenda, and how all we can working together with partners and young leaders to make and raise awareness about road safety and the broader development agenda as pivotal to achieve not only the targets inside the global plan for road safety, but the overall broader development agenda. So this is an informative webinar, and we hope that you can find this very interesting, but we would like to invite you also to download our policy brief that are online our Claiming Our Space page, and start sharing and raise awareness in your community about rethinking mobility with youth. And also Jasmine shared that there is always opportunity to you to knock the door to talk with policymakers and decision makers. And as part of the Global Youth Coalition, we are aiming to assist you in developing your skills on advocacy, on youth-led project, and because we are also delivering CapDev session on this. And we want also to invite you to join our Yours Academy, because you can find a very interesting information about road safety, the global development agenda, global health agenda. And in fact, we already released the third module that is related to road safety and sustainable development agenda as well. I wanted to thank you all for being here, and our partners, FEF Foundation. I know that Marvin is here, so thanks for joining us. And he was sharing also in the chat the upcoming activities that the FEF Foundation is doing in India along the G20 event. I want to thank you also, Dr. Ali from UNICEF. This is the first series of webinar that we are aiming to have in partnership with UNICEF as well. And we welcome all the young people from UNICEF network that are joined to us today. And yes, we hope that you find this very useful, and let's claiming our space together. We are here at the Global Coalition to support you, and we would like to invite you to join us if you are not part of our broader Global Coalition for this time. Thank you so much. And thank you, Alex, and all speakers for the amazing session. And I would like to invite Mao for the final picks.
Yes, I will, but I'll let Alex sign us off for the moment. Go on, Alex.
Oh, no. It's just, of course, just to